The biggest mistakes we've made while traveling with kids. When you travel with kids, there are bound to be mistakes, but some of our biggest ones have come from trying to follow what travel influencers recommend instead of figuring out what actually works for our family. One of our worst decisions was trying to pack carry-on only for a trip when our eldest twins were 5. The idea was that each family member would have their own small suitcase, 5 bags total, plus our travel stroller and the travel crib. We thought no problem, the kids are big enough to pull their own. It turns out they weren't. While we managed okay in the airport, dragging those suitcases through the cobblestone streets of Scotland and France was a disaster. My husband ended up juggling 4 suitcases and the travel crib while I had the baby, the stroller, and 1 more suitcase. It was chaos. To make matters worse, we'd pack the kids' carry-ons with every possible entertainment item, half of which they didn't even use. The bags were way too heavy and the kids couldn't carry those either. My husband literally looked like a bellhop with no cart trekking through Edinburgh in search of our Airbnb. After that first travel day, we rearranged everything and leaned heavily on taxis and help from my mom. But the visual of him, overloaded with gear, will be burned in my mind forever. We've also made the mistake of just overpacking, even when it wasn't 5 separate bags. On our very first trip as a family of 4, we packed things like a full-size baby bathtub and our baby Brezza. Yes, it was a road trip and we had the space, but we used very little of it. Now that we're a family of 6, we've been forced to streamline. Each trip we pack less and less, and honestly, it's made things much easier. Another mistake, and something we're still working on, is timing. With kids, even the simplest tasks take double the time. On several trips, we relied heavily on trains. We were constantly cutting it too close. We've had train doors held open for us more than once by kind conductors. Our kids are now low-key traumatized by rushing through train stations. We thought arriving at the airport 3 hours early was plenty of time until we found ourselves sprinting to the gate during boarding. With kids, time just evaporates. Everyone tells you to make sure the kids are fed and content before takeoff, but it can backfire. On one long-haul trip to Germany, we fed our 11-month-old a full meal before boarding. Then during takeoff, I breastfed him as recommended. And just 30 minutes into our flight, he projectile vomited on me, himself, and his sister. It was dinner service, so there were no flight attendants available to help. I was running back and forth, changing everyone while my husband used every wipe we had to clean up the seats. Then we just threw an airplane blanket over the top and pushed through. On the next flight, my daughter spilled juice on herself and then promptly threw up as well. Luckily, we had extra clothes, but now we've learned limit pre-flight food, don't push meals if they aren't necessary, and keep barf bags or small trash bags ready at all times. Another hard lesson learned was not packing a full medicine kit. On one trip to Germany, our eldest came down with a cough. We found a pharmacy, but everything was in German. And we were standing there with Google Translate trying to figure out while juggling a cranky kid. It worked out in the end, but we never travel without a simple, well-stocked medicine kit. Each of these mistakes taught us something valuable, whether it's packing less, building more buffer time, prepping the right gear, or managing expectations. It's all helped us to become more confident travelers with our kids. These stories might sound chaotic, and they were, but they've also made some of our most memorable travel moments. And now we can look back and laugh and say, we're never doing that again. Please like and subscribe to follow along for more.